The waves crash against the rocky shoreline, their rhythm echoing through time like a heartbeat of survival. The tide withdraws, revealing secrets hidden beneath the foam shells, clinging to wet stone crabs, scuttling into crevices and pools, shimmering with trapped life. But here lies the question that draws us back. 0.8 million years, when hunger gnawed at the bellies of our distant ancestors. How did the shore transform from a dangerous edge into a place of salvation? And what does this ancient gathering reveal about the vast seafood empires that now stretch across our oceans? To step onto this primal coast is to enter a battlefield of endurance, curiosity, and transformation. The band emerges from the shadows of the cliffs, lean figures silhouetted against the morning light. Their feet sink into wet sand, leaving fragile tracks that the tide will soon erase. Eyes scan the tidal pool, searching for movement, while fingers probe cautiously at sharp shells glistening with seawater. The first crack of stone against rock sends a spray of brine into the air. A mussel is pried loose, and with it, the faint promise of nourishment. Teeth grind the shell lips, pull at the salty flesh, and the taste of the sea floods the mouth. There is no cooking, no seasoning, only the raw gift of survival torn from the earth's margins. Danger is everywhere. The rocks are slick, threatening to break bone with a single misstep. Waves surge, dragging the unwary into the cold embrace of the ocean. From the shallows, the dark shadow of a predator glides, perhaps a crocodile, venturing out from the river mouth, perhaps a shark circling in search of the weak. Every harvest is a gamble, a delicate balance between hunger and risk. Yet hunger drives them deeper into the pools, scraping barnacles from stone-cracking clams, open with primitive tools fashioned from sharper rocks. The shore is not only a source of food, it is an unforgiving teacher. With each mouthful, strength returns. Children gnaw at fragments of shellfish, handed down by their elders, learning instinctively how to survive where land and water collide. The band crouches together on the rocks, salt spray stinging their skin, their bodies moving with rhythm. One strikes one, gathers, one eats. It is more than survival. It is the birth of ritual. To return to the shore when the tide is low, to scrape, to pry, to share these actions become the first pulse of culture, a memory etched into muscle and instinct. As the sun rises higher, the tide begins to change. The pool's empty shells are gathered, and the group retreats before the ocean reclaims its secrets. They leave behind broken fragments of shells scattered across the sand, a record of survival that millions of years later will whisper to us from the layers of earth. These traces are the first evidence of humanity's relationship with the sea, long before fleets of fishing vessels and vast seafood industries conquered the oceans. The shoreline becomes both mirror and contrast. Where once small hands clawed at slippery shells to feed a handful of mouths, today towering ships haul in nets weighted with thousands of fish mechanized claws, crack crustaceans by the ton, and markets overflow with abundance. Yet in both worlds, ancient and modern, lies the same unyielding truth the sea provides, but always at a cost. Here on this coast of survival, we witness the beginning of that eternal bargain. The tide recedes further, and the exposed flats shimmer beneath the harsh light of the afternoon sun. Shallow pools gleam like mirrors reflecting the bent silhouettes of the gatherers as they crouch low, their fingers feeling through mud and sand for the smooth curve of a shell or the sudden twitch of a crab. Each discovery sparks a flicker of urgency. Food found, food claimed, food devoured. Their bellies ache less with every handful, yet the gnawing of survival never truly leaves. A man slams a sharp stone onto a clam, the crack echoing across the shore like the drumbeat of a ritual. A child reaches eagerly, pulling at the fragments, tasting salt and iron, as the sea becomes part of their flesh. But survival here is not without struggle. The waves advance with steady menace, pushing against the feet of those who dare to linger too long. The sky darkens as clouds gather, carrying storms that can transform this fragile harvest into sudden death. Lightning flickers on the horizon, illuminating the sea's vastness, a reminder that their power is dwarfed by the forces around them. They retreat just enough to remain safe, yet never so far that the bounty slips from their grasp. The shore is a liminal space, half promise, half threat. In these acts, something deeper takes root. The band is not only feeding itself, it is learning to bend the environment to its will. The repeated strikes of stone upon shell echo the earliest whispers of technology. The coordinated search, where some watch for predators, while others scrape and dig, foreshadows the cooperation that will one day build societies. The sharing of food, even when hunger gnaws, is a declaration of unity. Around the scattered shells lies the first blueprint of civilization, primitive, fragile, but undeniable. As dusk begins to fall, fire crackles higher up the shore, where the band has built a crude refuge. They sit in a circle, backs against stone salt still drying on their skin. The shells they carried back are piled near the flames, each one a trophy of defiance against hunger. The group eats in silence, broken only by the snap of flames and the crunch of shell fragments. The taste is harsh, but in that salt lies survival, and in survival lies meaning. Their eyes glow with reflected firelight shadows dancing across ancient faces etched with determination. From this primal feast stretches a thread that reaches into our own world. The seafood that fills modern markets, trucks unloading crates of oysters, sushi laid out in shining rows, lobsters displayed in tanks, echoes the same need that drove these ancient gatherers to the tide pools. Yet, where once the ocean gave just enough to fill a few stomachs today, the hunger of nations strains the seas to breaking. Fishing fleets cross vast oceans, their nets sweeping entire ecosystems, their harvest driven by profit rather than survival. The contrast is staggering, but the origin is the same: life drawn from water sustenance pulled from the sea's hidden larder. And so the question lingers, are we still gatherers at the shore, or have we become something else entirely? The night settles over the shore, the tide rolling back with a steady hiss, and the ancient band curls together in the glow of their fire. The shells now lie in broken heaps around them, a fragile testimony to their triumph over hunger. The flames dance against the rocks, warding off the chill wind and the shadows of prowling predators that lurk beyond the reach of light. Salt lingers on their lips, and their bellies, though not full, no longer claw at them with desperation. In the hush of night, survival itself becomes a story, the tale of endurance written in the crash of waves and the grit of sand beneath calloused hands. But the sea never rests. As dawn rises, the waters pull back once more, revealing the treasures and dangers hidden in its depths. The band stirs, driven by instinct and need, their movements guided by rhythm, older than memory. They creep toward the rocks again, eyes scanning the pools, hands reaching into cold water. Each shell pried loose is an answer to the oldest question of all: will we endure another day? Yet in this daily struggle lies a profound revelation. The sea is not only enemy and danger, it is also teacher and ally. the lessons it imparts. Patience, timing, and courage will echo for millions of years in the human spirit. The rhythm of gathering builds a culture of repetition. They learn that low tide reveals that storms scatter shells and carry life closer to shore, that rocks conceal both food and peril. They recognize patterns not in words but in muscle and bone, in instinct, refined by repetition. To scrape a muscle, to break a clam, to pass the food to another. This becomes a ritual as sacred as any future prayer. In these acts lies the seed of memory, of tradition, of story. Around the fires they leave fragments that will one day tell archaeologists the truth. Humanity's relationship with the sea began not with nets or fleets, but with bare hands and sharp stones. The horizon of time stretches, and the vision shifts. Where once only a handful of shells fed a small band, the modern world now devours the oceans, with machinery, scale, and speed. Vast trawlers drag miles of nets, pulling not only fish, but the very heart of ecosystems from their waters. Markets overflow with glistening displays of shrimp scallops, clams, and oysters, luxuries, for some staples for others. But always the same lifeblood that once clung to the rocks beneath ancient feet. The transformation is staggering. What was once survival has become industry. What was once a ritual has become commerce. Yet in every bite of seafood we consume today, echoes of those ancient gatherers remain. Still, the contrast grows sharper. For them, each shell meant another hour of life, another day of endurance. For us, each ton harvested carries with it questions of sustainability, of depletion of oceans strained to their limits. The sea still provides, but its patience is not infinite. The same tide that once gifted shells to our ancestors now carries plastic waste oil spills and overfished emptiness. The shoreline is no longer just a frontier of survival. It is a mirror reflecting humanity's hunger, both ancient and modern. Here, on this meeting point of past and present, the myth of survival deepens when hunger collides with ambition, what remains of the sea that once saved us.